Hey everyone, how we doing today? This is James Sweeney, aka SplitSuit, and welcome back to another video. And as part of the Ask SplitSuit a Question series, a couple people did ask hand histories, and I wanted to go over one today that I thought was kind of fun. And this one comes from Keith H, and Keith prefaces the hand by saying, "Hi James, I'm really enjoying your videos a lot. I recently played, or misplayed, a hand in Live 1-3 at the casino. We were 8-handed, I was on the button with King 5 suited, there was a new player under the gun that made it 10 to go, and everyone called. The players in the blinds hadn't 3-bet all night, so I called, and as expected, both blinds came along." Okay, so if we back up just a couple of ticks right before we call, I want to talk about this situation for a minute. So this is something that I see a lot from live players. Live players get extremely bored because they've been sitting there for hours, haven't picked up a single playable hand, and they just desperately want to get involved somehow. And then all of a sudden they pick up some suited hand in a multi-way pot and they start calling a little bit more than maybe they should. So I want to talk about one very big important concept here that I think a lot of players miss. So in a situation where you have a suited hand like this, what you have to understand is that you are trading something for something. So you're trading getting involved in a multi-way pot where you have multiple sources of implied odds for a smaller SPR. Because even if we just call and we go, say the blinds fold and we go to it, what are we, 6-way at this point, that's going to be a very, very large pot. Pot's going to be about $60 and you're not going to have a huge SPR against everyone. If you expect that you call and the blinds are going to come along as well, that means the pot's going to be $80 and you're talking about give or take around 3 SPR against the new guy. You're talking about just a little bit more than that against some of the other players, but ultimately not a very great SPR for a drawing hand. When you have a drawing hand, whether that's a suited ace, a suited king, even suited connectors, those hands perform very well in deep SPR pots, 10 or more, 15 or more, 20 or more. Not so much in those small SPR pots where you're not going to have as much maneuverability, you're not going to have as much flexibility, you're not going to have as much fold equity either, more often than not. So you definitely want to keep that in mind before you just start entering all these situations with suited cards saying, oh, it's a multi-way pot, I can get involved. Well, probably not as much as you think you can because a lot of players make this mistake. So for me, this would just be a fold, really without question. I wouldn't think too much about it, and I just move on with my life. But now the hero did call, let's talk about how to get ourselves out of it. Because we're always going to make mistakes in poker, so knowing how to dig yourself out of a mistake is very, very helpful. So in this situation, we end up flopping a flush draw and an overcard, which is always fun. Check, 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 check. Hero bets. So I like the fact that Hero's betting here. I'm really just trying to clean out any equity, clean out hands like ace king, ace queen, those kind of things. Maybe I can get a fold from like a, an 8-7 type thing. I'm totally fine folding out people's equity in a situation like this. I'm never going to fold out a jack. I'm never going to fold out a big hand. But I think that I'll fold out enough equity here, and the times that I don't, I still have position, I still have a good flush draw, and I'll just make decisions from there. In this situation, we actually end up facing a check min raise from the new guy, and obviously because he's a new guy, we don't have any information on him, so we can't really pinpoint him on a range, and Hero just decides to flat. And I would also flat here as well. I don't really know if I can come over the top and expect him to fold very much, and I think it's just one of those situations where when I do, I'm going to run into the top side, and I don't think we're really going to have too much fold equity, and mathematically I don't expect this to be a very good shove. So I'll just call, take the cheap draw for 32, and just simply go forward from there. So at this point, things get a little interesting once we call because we end up picking up more equity on the turn, but we also end up facing a jam from the new guy. So at this point, we're getting 2.12 to 1 in a call, which means we need at least 32% equity to break even here. And at this point, it is solely a mathematical decision. Do we have enough equity or not? Now, whether or not we have enough equity is going to be dependent on the range that we assign the new guy. So if we assign the new guy an extremely nutted range, which pretty much consists of sets and the made straight, say like a 5-6 suited that he went for a check min raise on the flop with, whether or not that makes sense is certainly up for debate, but if you nuke it out, the equity is still similar, then you're in a situation where we don't have enough equity to call here. But if the new guy can have things like ace-jack, queens, kings that he would ever take this line with, then all of a sudden we have just enough equity to justify calling this. Now, overall, he's a new guy. You're not going to have information, right? You're not going to know exactly what the heck he would check min raise with, what his under the gun opening range looks like, those kind of things. So because of that, and because it's so break even in the best case scenario, I mean, you're talking about like 1 to 2 equity points of profitability. It's a situation where I really don't mind Heroes fold, because it really has to be kind of a best case scenario for you to be able to make that call. So as played, I'm actually totally fine with post-flop. Again, my big issue being with pre-flop, and that's kind of a mistake that I see a lot of players make, and I think it's very important that you curb it if you're also making that mistake. So Keith wrapped it up by saying, I tank folded. I had all the draws and a ton of outs against almost everything, may have been a nit fold, but I wasn't going to be playing much longer and I was up a couple hundred and decided to protect the winning session. Just wondering if it was a bad fold or not. Well, like I said, I think the fold was okay, but I do want to make one little comment about what you said there as far as protecting a winning session. Don't really do that. Don't make a fold and say, well, I'm doing it because I want to protect a session. Every single hand you play in poker is about generating edges. If it's a good edge, you need to take it. If it's not a good edge, you need to get away from it. Very simple. Don't make decisions based upon protecting wins or any sort of like mental thing like that. Only make decisions based upon math. And in this situation, it could have been a good call, but overall, I think that your fold was fine. Again, I just want to make sure that your rationale for folding is correct. So Keith, thanks for the great hand, and hopefully this gets you started the next time you find yourself in a similar situation. And if you or anyone else has another poker hand or poker related question, feel free to leave it on our Google Plus page. I'll leave a link for that in the description box. And also please make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this type of video. So same as always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Otherwise, good luck out there and happy grinding.